A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a frantic week that saw lawmakers on Capitol Hill scramble to avert a government shutdown, President Biden has signed a stopgap funding bill into law, effectively extending government funding until March 14, 2025. The bill, known as the American Relief Act 2025, is a significant legislative move that provides over $100 billion in disaster aid for regions affected by storms Helene and Milton earlier this year, alongside a $10 billion provision aimed at economic assistance for farmers. The Senate passed this crucial funding legislation with a decisive vote of 85-11 in the early hours of Saturday, following an intense week of negotiations that culminated in the House approving the bill with an overwhelming majority of 366 votes to 34 just a day prior. Despite the successful passage of the bill, it has not been without controversy. President-elect Donald Trump has expressed dissatisfaction, particularly because the legislation does not include provisions to suspend the debt ceiling, a demand he had made during negotiations. This has raised concerns among conservative GOP lawmakers about the implications for the national debt, which has now exceeded $36 trillion. The negotiations leading up to the bill's passage were chaotic, with a lengthy 1,547-page continuing resolution being rejected earlier in the week. This was followed by a slimmed-down version that also failed to gain traction in the House. Ultimately, Speaker Mike Johnson's new bill emerged as a compromise that garnered bipartisan support. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer hailed the passage of the funding legislation, emphasizing that it prevents a government shutdown right before Christmas. In his remarks, he stated, "We will keep the government open with a bipartisan bill that funds the government, helps Americans affected by hurricanes and natural disasters, helps our farmers, and avoids harmful cuts." In the wake of the bill's passage, there have been calls for President Biden to take a more active role in negotiations. Some lawmakers have criticized his limited public presence during the discussions, with Representative Mike Lawler questioning why Biden had not been more vocal in the lead-up to the vote. Lawler remarked, "People fail to recognize that even though the focus has been on President Trump, Joe Biden is actually still the president, which is really mind-boggling, because nobody's heard from him in weeks." On the other hand, House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries characterized the legislation as a victory for his party, asserting that they had successfully thwarted attempts by what he referred to as extreme MAGA Republicans to shut down the government. This sentiment was echoed by former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, who praised the unity of the Democratic Party in facing the challenges posed by Trump and his allies. As the dust settles on this legislative battle, the implications for the incoming Trump administration are significant. With funding secured until March, Trump and his team will have to navigate the complexities of government operations while addressing the concerns raised by the debt ceiling and national budget. The next few months will be pivotal as the new administration seeks to implement its agenda amidst a backdrop of fiscal constraints and political division. The successful passage of the stopgap funding bill not only averts an immediate crisis, but also sets the stage for ongoing discussions about fiscal policy, disaster relief, and economic support for vulnerable communities. As lawmakers return to their constituencies, the focus will inevitably shift to how they will address the pressing issues facing the nation, including the looming debt ceiling and the need for comprehensive budget reform. In conclusion, while the immediate threat of a government shutdown has been quelled, the broader challenges of governance and fiscal responsibility remain at the forefront of political discourse. As President Biden and President-elect Trump prepare for the transition, the stakes have never been higher for American families and the future of the nation's economy. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.